Welcome. Don't adjust your dial. Welcome everyone to the Lofi Poli Sci podcast. I'm your host, Michael Pickering. That's right, Lo-Fi as in low fidelity, low quality, in your face, messy as can be, global news show. Here we're going to talk about that famous question, what's going on in the world today? It's Tuesday, no top 10 today, but catching up on more lo-fi global news, fresh off that press. Coming at us from the AP International section. 3 nabbed at Johannesburg Airport with gold and carry-on bags. Oh, how I love a good international mystery. And one of possible international gold smuggling syndicates? Well, that definitely qualifies. The story. 3 individuals from Madagascar that were traveling to the UAE via South Africa were stopped and had their luggage checked, and police found 162 pounds of gold bars, worth about $4.1 million, along with other foreign currencies. Now, the people had their papers certifying the gold, but they got locked up anyway. The story is really scant with details. But that's because it's fresh, and it's real international mystery and mayhem. And international mystery is exactly that. It's a mystery. International crime syndicates and international money laundering outfits, they go through great lengths to keep their operations looking legitimate. So we never know anything about them. But we'll definitely keep you updated as we hear more for sure, lo-fi listeners. Now, next up, Source, Asia section of the BBC. Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai ordered back to jail. Jimmy Lai is a pro-democracy media corporation owner that we've talked about a great deal over the past year. He's been in and out of jail since Beijing threw out democracy in Hong Kong. He had been released last that we checked in, but now with the new security law that was passed this summer, he's being targeted with new charges under the law. And he's been ordered back to prison as the prosecution argued he would likely break the law again if left free. He next appears in court on February 1st, which we'll definitely check in with this story then, peeps. Now, moving forward because we never move on from anything. Source, Reuters World News. From embargo to embrace, Saudi Arabia pushes Gulf détente. Okay, a little background needed for this one, so let's jump into it. It was 3 years ago when Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Egypt, and the UAE all imposed sanctions and closed relations with Qatar. They stated that Qatar would have to fulfill 13 requirements in order to have relations normalized. And of course, Qatar said, hell no. And for 3 years since then, there's been an embargo in place. But now, word is coming out of this great deal, this new normalization and rekindling of old ties. But no details of what is being given up by anyone is being released. For instance, one of the big demands was that Qatar shut down Al Jazeera News. And yet there's no mention of this, or any of the other 12 demands, anywhere, or by anyone. Curious, is it not? Write in, Lo-Fi Nation, and let me hear your voice on this one. And our following story comes from the international section of the AP. Venezuela's Socialists take control of once defiant Congress. Well, not too much to say here, Lo-Fi Nation, other than a quick 2-year recap, and then the cap on this story today. The Venezuelan President Maduro of the Socialist Party has controlled the country's government for years. But Congress, 2 years ago, was, and up until today, controlled by the opposition party. And that opposition party gave way to the rise of Juan Guaido, the self-appointed interim president of Venezuela that a slew of Western countries backed as the true legitimate president of Venezuela, rather than Maduro. However, Guaido's efforts for these past 2 years to try and oust Maduro have failed. And now the Socialist Party has taken over Congress and controls all institutions in the country. We'll keep an eye on this story moving forward and definitely let you know what Guaido and the opposition are up to. But now Maduro and the party have solidified power in Venezuela. And a last piece of news to send you on your way for the day. Source, the BBC Tech section. TalkRadio, YouTube kicks channel off its platform. Oh, now here we go, getting into some messiness before we head out the door, and let's hit it. So TalkRadio is a London-based radio broadcaster with global reach, which is pretty big for a radio station and broadcaster. But YouTube has now banned their channel, and when you go to their site on YouTube, it simply says, begin quote, "This account has been terminated for violating YouTube's community guidelines," end quote. And of course, TalkRadio has requested clarification, and YouTube, owned by Google, owned by Alphabet Inc., well, they haven't said shit. And frankly, being a privately owned company, they can do as they please. They don't have to. And I'll go ahead and quote BBC a little bit more on this one, just to give you an idea about what YouTube community guidelines are and what we have to work with. Begin quote. YouTube operates a 3 strikes policy, whereby channels that break its community guidelines 3 times within a 90-day period can be permanently banned, but other infractions lead to temporary restrictions. End quote. So whatever it is that TalkRadio did, they did it 3 times within the same month. And there's a lot of community guidelines we have to follow so we don't get videos flagged. Like, for instance, the lo-fi music on our cast is created by us. Because if we use someone else's music on our YouTube videos, that's strike number 1. If we use someone else's music 3 times within 90 days, you're out. YouTube bans your channel. And I'm not going to play a speculation game for why TalkRadio got banned. But I am interested to find out, and we will keep you updated on this story for sure. And it's a brief snapshot of what's going on in the world today. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode of Lo-Fi Global News. Always remember that Lofi Poli Sci is more than just me. It's the we that we be. Write in with questions or comments to lofipolisci@planetmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay safe. Wash those hands. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Lofi Poli Sci podcast. Pickering, signing off.